It's so peaceful to be here with you, man. It's truly an honor to be here. Such a place, such an energy here. Thank you so much for hosting us. For real. Nice to meet you, man. So, I'm gonna start asking you where we are and why are you here, man?
I mean, where we are, I think, has two different answers. One is the location base, and the other is, I think, on the conscious level, where we are. Like, here I am after 10 years of living my city, Istanbul, which I've never planted before in my life. I think the first time that I planted, I was 35. I'm here, we're planting regenerative, productive forests with the intention of creating lucrative, ethic, conscious environments. And as we do that, we're like respectfully listening what this language of nature is telling us, because we are part of it. And so we're not cultivating products here. We're not cultivating alfasi or some fruit trees. More than that, we are understanding how to cultivate life in harmony, how to cultivate life in syntropy. When the human doesn't interrupt the flow, it always finds its perfect places without any race. There is this flow that each thing is helping other, and if something needs to die, it dies and becomes compost, and so there is no waste.
Endless cycle.
And so it's in this endless cycle, there is always the accumulation of the energy that gives infinite life, that brought us today, that nurtured all these beings that has been lived and will live. So the life sustains itself. You don't need to do nothing. In the syntropic agroforestry, what you do is you understand those laws and you create a design that's aligned to the nature, so you accelerate the process of accumulating the energy. And with this, there is two parts, which one is the stratification, where it's gonna stay, which tree is gonna stay under, which tree is gonna stay over the other ones. And then there is the life cycles of each species. So like using this two axes, you kind of like design the forest in the way that can nurture best and become lucrative. At the same time, it creates this healthy soil, healthy water, healthy air around it. So it is vibrating life. And we are not doing anything. We're just biomimicking, like we understand how it works and saying, thank you, mother, here I apply. So it's not like a space technology. I mean, it is space technology, totally, actually. It's space technology, but in a total different way.
Very grounded.
Very abundant.
Natural.
Naturally very abundant. And once you enter the syntropy of life, you understand that it's not about good or bad. Everything is this like love, unconditional love that might sound very hippie in one way, but that's the essence of everything.
With that syntropic perspective, how could we look at a concrete everyday situation?
So it's about like how can we raise our consciousness to see what's happening in this moment, every day-to-day life, already, all around, all the time, and so we don't feel alone. Because what gives us this infinite abundance, we don't even do anything. It's exactly like, you know, when they say like the mother nature. It's like, you know, the mother just gives their child infinitely, endlessly, and unconditionally. And it's like this, you know, like, and we've been like super naughty, and we've been like creating lots of problems, and she's still giving. And she's gonna keep going until it cannot for a minute. And in that minute, maybe we will all go extinct. But then the life will continue, because the syntropy won't go anywhere, because that's the law of nature. Mm-hmm. It's basically remembering where we are. It's remembering who we are, and make that connection and bring into our daily life. We're not lack of any kinds of solutions for all the problems that we are facing as humanity. What we are lack of, I think, is the will to change. The will to change the shit, to make that shift into our consciousness. As a collective, that's what is missing. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like the problem is not finding solutions. The problem at this moment that we're facing is like how to raise awareness that we really start asking questions, the real questions to ourselves. Because the moment that we ask that questions, life will provide the answer. Because that's what life does. So again, like how I end up here, man, I have no idea. It's a day-to-day thing that brought me here. If you would ask me, if you would tell me that in 10 years ago, 10 years later, that you're gonna be like planting forest and this and that, I wouldn't even imagine. Why?
So if we don't have the why or how you got here, I'm curious about what were the questions that you asked yourself? And what were you doing in that old Ray, in that old life? What were you doing, and what were the questions that got you out of that?
Look, I grew up in a Jewish community in a Muslim country. I grew up within many ready-made answers, including who should I marry, including what should I do, including about the definition of the money and the friendship and all these things. So my motive when I kind of like start rediscovering myself, the question was the very simple question, who am I really? And that's the thing, you know, because I cannot put any definition of who I am, but I can take out who I am not. The rest is who I am. And so it's kind of like this rediscovery of the self that's still continuous. It's a transition. And when I say transition, sometimes people say, yeah, transition is a period of time that is gonna transit to something else. So the transition is continuation of life. So there is nowhere to be really like, we arrived. No, life is in transition, and it's not gonna stop. It would be very boring, actually. If you, in your life, you say that like, I arrived. Okay, now what you're gonna do? Like, you arrived, okay, what? Here we are practicing a form of transition, how we can produce our food, how we can produce our wood, how we can produce our medicine in a different way. because there is the traditional way, which is, I think, a very arrogant acquisition, because traditional way is something that the humans were practicing for millions of years, which has happened, and the last 150 years we totally changed that and we call that traditional. And most probably the previous practices were much more nature related, besides the capital market related. Like, it wasn't based on what the market was wanted, but what we're really sending
Essential needs.
the order were the nature, and the people had to respect to the nature. And this 150 years, 200 years, we have this arrogancy that we think that we can do that. But yeah, we are like small children, you know, we think that we can do that, and for a minute you can say that, I did it. Man, the law of nature is the law of nature. Like, you can do something for a specific of time. You know, if you drop yourself from a cliff, you can say, I'm flying, until you hit the ground. But the law of nature is the gravity, and it will take you down. So in that moment, you can really say, oh, look, I just jumped from the cliff and I can fly. And you are flying at that very moment, but actually you are free-falling.
If that moment when we as humanity jumped off the cliff and believed our own illusion that we are flying up, instead of understanding our disconnection and raising that awareness, maybe those ready-made truths come from that arrogancy of free-falling, not knowing about it. So my question to you right now is, from these ready-made truths that our society is based upon right now, do you think that there's like one or two that are like the main ones, that are like the trickiest ones?
Sure. I mean, for me, it's always the mother of all illusions. That is the illusion of separation. Again, we come back to this entropy. Nothing is alone. The biggest illusion is the illusion of the separation. And the second biggest thing, which is the biggest religion that we all have in it, is the humanistic approach. So we look at the world and we see everything is for the humans only. The trees is there to cut, and then we can use it, and we just look at this world.
Yeah.
That's the biggest religion. It's more powerful than the money.
Than the money.
It's more powerful than the money. This background song that says the world is there for you to dominate. It's in everywhere. And so this basic two things, if you change the consciousness on this, like, well, you understand that there is no separation. It's all connected. First, you cannot destroy, because you understand that you are destroying your house. Because you understand that there is only one person in the room. So when you give to yourself. And on the second part, that like, if we understand that like in this, like everything is connected, so we are part of these things, not the God of the things. I mean, we have this gift and the curse at the same time of to remember and to make plans, as a collective that put human in this like superior position, but at the same time we are the only species that suffers constantly because we are doing that. I mean, the birds that you're hearing, they don't have these problems. You know, like very, very flowy instincts, and like there is food, they eat, there is no food, they die. And even that is like just part of the process. So we have the gift to act as a collective. And what we do this is we create armies. If we have a consciousness, we need to save ourselves. The planet will be okay. The planet will be super okay after we go. It's just gonna come back, everything's gonna come back. Like you deploy all your nuclear powers and whatever, you do what you want. It's gonna come back. 100 years, 100 years, 1 million years, whatever. It was here for 4.5 billion years. Like it's just an eye blink, it will come back. Yeah. She will replace itself because the syntropy works.
What's the best way to hack the system? Or we don't even need to do that? What's your perspective? What's your transformation perspective on society right now?
Look, I gave you an example before, I'm just going to repeat that. Like, I think you do what you vibrate. And if you really are sincere to go beyond of your conditionings, because not everyone is ready for this. Like, so let's come back to the nature, like to the nature of the things. This is not something that everybody wants that. All these seeds doesn't mean that they're gonna become a tree. They have the potential to be the tree. Each seed has the potential, but very few of them will become a tree. There is a very nice story, Sufi story, that I would like to share. So, in this battlefield, there is the Lord of the Light, and then there is the Lord of the Dark. And the Lord of the Darkness sends its best warriors, and the Lord of the Light sends its best warriors, and then they fight, and sometimes one wins, and the whole cosmos is radiating with that frequency, and sometimes the other win, and the whole cosmos is radiating with that frequency. So in this battlefield, it just like goes like this forever, and then the Lord of the Darkness sends its best warrior, and nobody can beat him, and it's just like it feels that it's endless. It's gonna stay like this forever. And then love arrives, and when love arrives, both lords bow down, because both lords serving for that source. So once you understand that, in the realm of duality, we are seeing this light and shadow.
Love ends up with that separation duality.
Exactly.
It integrates everything.
Because that's the part that melts everything in. Like, most probably, all the things, all the persons, all the ideology that we think that they are like harming, they're seeking the same thing. Love. Yeah. It's a lack of love, but they're seeking it. And because it's like that, because it's lack, it appears to us that it destroys, but it's the same force.
When you say that one of the things that you're trying to do here is have this syntropic, regenerative environment as lucrative, also financially. First question, is that real already? Is this more lucrative than common agrotoxic monoculture? And second question, if it is more profitable, why aren't the farmers shifting already?
Okay. The first question is yes, it's more lucrative, for sure. economically speaking, I'm like taking all the ethic parts and the health of the soil parts aside. It's more lucrative. Why they don't practice? Because you need to change the system. You need to change what you are already accustomed to, and people are not ready to this.
Back to willpower.
Because in the monoculture way, there is a recipe. In this recipe, you plant corn, you plant soja, there is subsidies from the government, and there is the X amount of pesticides that you need to use. There's an X amount of herbicides that you need to use.
It's easier.
Beyond it's easier, there's a recipe. It's like baking a cake. You just apply that, and the result will differ 5%, 10%. And it's short term. That's our problem as humanity. We always look life as short term. And we are talking about an endless cycle of life. But we are always like looking, okay, what's gonna happen today? What's gonna happen today? And so in this process of short-term profit is locking the system, and it makes you a slave of, you know, like many monoculture farmers, they do this, they harm the planet. They know that they harm the planet, but you know, everybody works and they produce food. So they do what they do. So why they don't shift is this, because first we need to come up with a better solution instead of like pointing them and saying, hey, you are like hurting the planet, harming the planet, what you're doing is wrong. You come up with a better solution because we have the solutions. So in the mid-term and the long-term, agroforestry, syntropic agroforestry is much more, not like 2 times, 3 times. There is a calculation that's been done that it shows 83 times much more lucrative.
83?
83 times. But in the long term. Because as you plant your first hortas and then vegetables, and then it becomes the fruit trees, and then it becomes the wood trees, and when you cut the wood trees, and then it comes the native trees that you plant. So it's a cycle that you keep collecting, because it's a regenerative process. You keep collecting different things. So again, it's a shift of consciousness.
The more you collect, the more is produced.
Because, exactly. Like you cannot just like create recipes. You have to be in there and understanding and seeing, okay, now it's time to this and now it's time to that. Then it's lucrative.
Having learned all of that, all of these, what's the main challenge right now? What's left to be learned in this moment? And what are the next steps that you see?
Really understanding our place in this sacred mandala. I always say, we're all native to this planet. We just forget our tribe. So now, as the children of this lost tribe, we need to create our, again, from the scratch. And we have so much examples around us, and the elders, and the traditions, and the technology. And so now, as the children of this lost tribe, I think we need to create our own from the scratch. There is nowhere to go. This I learned after many errors. So, like, first you understand your place, first you understand your purpose, and first you ground and relax into yourself. Like first you relax into yourself. That's like, I think the main purpose. Like forget about like the saving the planet, forget about the saving everything. First like find the ways that you be relaxed into yourself. From there, whatever you do will be okay. And it took almost 40 years in my life to like, I really felt that like, I'm relaxed into myself. This doesn't mean that like all I do is right or wrong. It's just like,
It's coming from a place of peace.
yeah, like, okay, that's like how I see it for me now. And most probably it will change also. So there is nothing like, it's nothing hypocritic. Like, you know, most probably it will change. What I'm saying today will be hopefully will be update 5 years later.
But at least you're not fighting against something.
Exactly. So once we become relaxed into ourselves, then we can understand our purpose, and then from there you act. Instead of reacting to the whole craziness of the planet and being the kind of like this subject of, okay, now I have to go there because I have, you know, like with my own goodwill, I want to help people. But who is helping you? I think first, it's like in the planes, you know? Before the kids, like first you put the mask into yourself and to yourself. So use that wisdom to come here and then act from there. But I think the very, very first action is not like try to save what's outside.
Or achieve something.
Like come back and like be there, like, you know, and from there, once you reach that calm place within you, whatever you do, it's gonna be okay. So I think that's the, like, you ask me like what we should do. I think that's first step is like beyond any action outside, like how we can come to that calm place within us, and we should check that place.
And going back to the challenge?
The challenge is always I think the duality, because as I said, like even you understand that there is this big illusion of the separation, that doesn't mean that you're immune to that. But I think I answer to that too, because the moment we stop reacting to the world's crazy dual dance, that's our biggest challenge, I think. Not to react to what's happening, and find that center place within ourselves. That's the challenge, because once you really enter there, you're home.
Nothing else matters.
You're home. Like, then you act from the home. It's gonna be all good. I think that's the biggest challenge, not to react.
What would you tell a depressed 17-year-old, disconnected from life, or what would you even tell his parents or her parents as a first step to get out of that disconnection?
Connect with nature.
Nature.
She has all the answers. Again, it's life affirmative, life supporting system that works. After what have we done as a whole society, as a whole humanity, she still works. It's incredible that she still works, but she works. So connect with the nature, and you cannot be disconnected when you connect with the nature, because there is nobody in the room than you. What you're gonna find in the nature is yourself. There is no separation. There is no separation. That's the only lesson that really, like, I think each time I got lost in my own little world, this is the thing that I'm trying to remember. Because I cannot give you so many different answers. Most probably, all your question, I'm just gonna come to this base ground.
Source.
Like, there is no separation, and when we really understand that, you start relax into yourself, and then you start connect, and then you start act, and I think that's and that's syntropy, and I think that's what I learned, what I am learning, and most probably what I will learn, because life is a transition.
Thank you, man. For real. This was truly important, personally and in every other aspect. Anyone else wants to ask any specific question, curiosity?
Maybe there's no answer for that, and maybe it is easier to say what the Habuma is not than what it is. But I would like to understand what is the space? What are you guys doing here?
We are trying to implement a platform that can practice and show and share how we can manifest our dreams. So it's a holy dream factory. It's a platform that we manifest our dreams. What are we dreaming of? It would be very arrogant to answer that. But more important than what are we dreaming of is understanding how we can manifest our dreams. Because the what will change, the how will stay. So it's a kind of like this practice of refining how we connect. So this is a place of that. It's kind of like a school, mystery school, laboratory of life. It's a home. It's a future island. It's a farm. And it's the whole universe. That like a very simple place, the most complex place at the same time, in the platform of miracles, or just like at the same time, couple people lives here and it's home and they have their own problems, personal problems, and like life, everything there is happening at the same time. So this place is a living organism.
Mundo Possível.
That's what the Habuma is.